Hello grade 6 students and welcome to this lesson, page 552 in your books. In this lesson we're going to discover chemical properties in the periodic table along with three new groups: alkaline metals, alkaline earth metals, and plus it will be the transition metals. Okay, so let's first do a little recap of physical properties. We know that matter has two types of properties. We have physical properties and the new chemical properties. So let's recall, physical properties are properties that can be detected with senses like color and shine. So we use our eyesight to tell the color and tell whether a substance is shiny or dull. Other properties like mass, volume can be measured by instruments, density can be calculated. We have magnetism, we have conductivity, which is the ability of a substance to conduct heat and electricity. Okay, so now let's move to the chemical properties. So a chemical property describes how a substance reacts with other substances. So let's remember that we have four main types of chemical reactions. We have the synthesis, decomposition, single replacement, and double replacement. Okay, so let's take a substance A, could be sodium, B could be chlorine gas. So they will combine and produce sodium chloride. So let's balance it. So I have two chlorine atoms, I need a 2 here. So two sodium atoms, so I need to multiply here by 2. So this is how sodium reacts with chlorine. Okay, why these two elements undergo a synthesis reaction? Because of their chemical properties. Okay, so all of this happens according to chemical properties. So let's now use the chemical properties to classify elements into the famous periodic table. So we have 18 groups, okay, and 7 periods. Always remember that you need to start counting from the first one, hydrogen. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. This period is number 4. Okay, and always remember that we have three major families. We have the metals, non-metals, and metalloids. So the metalloids are somewhere in the middle, and they go like a stairs. Okay, so to the right side we have the non-metals. Here the metalloids are located. Okay, and to the left side we have the metals. Okay, and always remember that hydrogen is not a metal. Hydrogen belongs with the non-metals. Now, in this classification, this periodic table, elements that belong to the same group or family have similar chemical properties, right? So let's say how. Let's take any two substances like sodium, sorry about this, like sodium and potassium. Let's combine them with chlorine. So sodium will be combined with chlorine gas and produce sodium chloride, which is the table salt. Okay, and potassium will be combined with chlorine gas and give potassium chloride. Okay, 2 with a 2 here. So this is how it's balanced. So let's take of course in the products we have 2 sodium chloride molecules and 2 potassium chloride molecules. So let's take one molecule. So NaCl, it has 1 sodium atom and 1 chlorine atom. So the ratio is 1 to 1. The same, if you take KCl molecule, it has 1 to 1 ratio. This means that sodium and potassium reacted with chlorine similarly, in a similar way. Why? Because they have similar chemical properties. So this is why sodium and potassium belong to the same group. Okay, same goes for other elements like magnesium. So Mg plus Cl2 will give MgCl2, so the ratio is 1 to 2 here, and Ca plus Cl2 will give CaCl2 calcium chloride, so 1 to 2, same ratio because these two elements belong to the same group. Okay. Now let's go back to the metals. So the metals share some properties. So generally they are shiny and they bend easily, and they conduct heat and electricity. They are good conductors. So however, metals are classified into three groups or three types. So we have the alkali metals, alkaline earth metals, and transition metals. Let's start with the alkali metals. So they are elements that belong to group number 1 always, except for hydrogen. Hydrogen is not a metal. Okay. Now some examples of these elements, so like sodium, lithium, and potassium. So these elements share a property that they are extremely reactive. This means they react easily with other substances. Okay, so it's like elements that like to make chemical bonds with other elements, so they react easily. So this leads to these elements not found in nature by themselves. So you cannot find like sodium, a piece of pure sodium or piece of pure lithium. No, you will find them combined with other elements like sodium chlorine, sodium fluorine, okay, and others. Okay, this is due to their extreme reactivity, so they react easily. Okay, and also they are soft. So these are two shared properties between these elements. Okay, so we have now alkali metals. Okay, so some of these compounds are sodium chlorine, lithium chlorine, sodium fluorine, sodium hydroxide. This is the hydroxide group. You're going to see it later in the acid and base lesson. Potassium chloride, so different compounds. So they easily form compounds. Now, the alkaline earth metals are elements that belong to group number 2, so we don't have any exceptions here. So magnesium, beryllium, calcium, beryllium is the Be, and barium is the Ba. So we have radium, strontium. So these elements share some properties. First, they are not reactive as alkali metals. Okay, you need to remember this. And they are light and soft also. Okay. So a few tips about these elements. So some of these elements are very essential for living organisms. Like magnesium is the essential element for healthy bones. This is new information for you maybe. And we have here an example of calcium deficiency. So calcium, this is just to show you that calcium is very important for living things, animals and plants. Okay. The third group of metals is the transition metals group. So it goes from group number 3 to group number 12. It's the large region or large part in the periodic table. So these metals are hard and shiny. We have like iron is hard. They react slowly, like if you take rusting. So I'm gonna have rusting is when iron, for example, reacts with oxygen. So this reaction takes a long time. Okay, of course it depends on the conditions, but in general it takes a long time. Imagine like leaving a piece of iron like outside. It will take a long time to rust. Okay, you need long time to start seeing the rust on this piece of iron. So these elements are also used to make coins like silver and gold, jewelry, gold, machinery like iron and other, other metals. So to sum everything up, so hydrogen is not a metal, so it has the same color here, this illustration, as the non-metals. So first we have the alkali, then alkaline earth, and from group number 3 to group number 12 are transition metals. Okay, in the middle we have the metalloids and the non-metals. Okay, so now let's take only the metals. Okay, let's check the metals. So first we had alkalis, which are extremely reactive. Then the alkaline earth, less reactive than the alkalis. Then the transition metals, which react slowly. So let's here define the activity as the ability of a substance to react with other substance. To react with other substances. Okay? So as you can see here, alkali metals have the greatest reactivity. They react easily, they are extremely reactive. Then in the second place come the alkaline earth metals. Then in the third place, transition metals come. So if you take the reactivity will decrease as you go to the right. This only applies for metals. So if you go from group number 1, 2 to 12, the reactivity decreases. So if you take an element of group 10, it will be less reactive than an element of group 3. If an element of group 3 will be less reactive than an element of group 1, and so on. Okay? So thank you for your time and attention, and see you in the next lesson.